because the racing that we've seen so far this weekend has provided some fast, frantic action, and well, we can only continue in that. The MX1 qualifying was also similar yesterday, and in a moment we will be getting to grips with those guys out on the track.
Tony, tell us a little bit about this ribbon on your bike today.
Yeah, that's it's just in a memory for all the victims that for the earthquake in Italy this last week. Yeah, that's just a small things for just to remember them. Try to be, remember them as much more as possible, and try to do the best for this race also for them and for all the people in Italy.
Well, hope that you'll do them proud. Thank you. We're just going to have a quick word with Ken Dyker. Ken, quick word. Do you like this track here in Istanbul?
Yeah, it's much better than the last tracks we have. This is more my style, I think.
Is it easy to pass here today, do you think?
It's going to be more easier. It's going to be hard to make no mistakes and be consistent the whole race.
So is it important to get a good start then on this track?
Yeah, it's important, but on this track it's more possible to come back from the end to the front, so we'll see.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Good luck. We'll have a quick word from Mark now. Mark, quick word. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I'm planning for the whole shot.
Yeah.
Pull away 1 minute, take a Bacardi Coke and still win.
And what about the weather today? It's a bit windy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very windy. It's I don't like when it's really hot.
Yeah.
So it's better for me, and I hope for a good start, and we'll see.
Is it easy to pass on this track?
I got passed 4 times yesterday, so I guess it's easy. So no, it's not that easy, not that difficult.
So hopefully you'll be doing the passing today then.
I hope so.
Yeah, you feeling confident?
More than last week, yes.
Oh, good luck, good luck. Thanks for that, Mark. Well, there you go. That's a few of the MX1 riders. Right now over to Yamaha Black Shadows. Hello, Gianni. Yamaha Factory Racing is a very strong team. You've got 2 very good riders in the MX1. How does that make you feel?
Make us feel pretty good because we have, as you said, 2 really strong riders. One is David Philippas, who is actually now the last year world champion, so he has to defend his title. And the other one is Josh Coplin, which is another, he has proved in the past year he is really fast, and he still is a challenger for the championship, and we are really confident this could be another good year for us, and yeah, we hope it's going to be good.
I mean, obviously you said you've got Josh Coppins, you've got David Philippas as well, the reigning champion. 2 very good riders. Any competition between the both of them?
Yeah, of course, in the track they compete one against each other, but the competition is always very fair between them, and so this makes us really happy with this because it's easy to handle, and they get along pretty good one to each other, so no big stress about that.
Obviously over there, that's the bike of David Philippas, winning the championship last year. Any changes to the bike? Any difference this year?
Yeah, of course, every year we work during the winter to improve our bikes, even if it was really a good one last year already. But yeah, we made a big step, especially about the engine. Now we have much more power and the bike is stronger than last year. And we work also a little bit on the suspension.
I'm here at David Philippas' bike, the world champion so far. Number 19 is his number, and it's a famous number at the moment, as it's a number of a winner. Hello, David. You are the reigning champion now. How does that feel?
Yeah, I started good in France. It's no very good race, but I think so my body now is start for a win, and I am very happy.
I was going to say that in Faenza, it was a little bit disappointing for you, wasn't it? Does your championship start here in Bulgaria?
Yeah, last year I started in Valkenswaard, and after Valkenswaard Spain, and in Spain I have 5 in the champions. Now in Bulgaria 9, but the points is very short because in France only 1 race. And yeah, my champion started now, but I want to finish every race, and I finished Faenza, and now I start to finish every race for the title.
And now Josh Coppins.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Josh, you've come all the way from New Zealand. It's a long way to come. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's a long way to come, but I've been in Europe racing now for 14 years, so I pretty much only go home to New Zealand a couple weeks a year, and the rest of the time I spend in Europe. So I miss home a lot, and it's far away. I wish I could go home at the weekends, but or in the week between the races, like a lot of the other riders, but I can't. So I just have to make do with the situation and do the best I can.
Now, last week in Faenza, you had a pretty bad crash, didn't you? Are you nervous here for Bulgaria?
I had quite a bad crash on Saturday while I was leading the heat race, which was pretty disappointing because I was riding well, and I mean, it was, I kind of got lucky because Sunday the conditions were pretty bad, and we only had one race, and I was in quite a lot of pain from the crash on Saturday.
And finally, is 2009 a season where you could win the championship?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a season I can win, but it's also a season that maybe 10 other riders can win. You know, it's stacked this year. There's a lot of good talent, a lot of good riders, and a lot of guys who believe they can win. And so I think it's definitely a season I have a shot.
Well, as you look down the start list, the order in which the riders qualified yesterday in their 20-minute plus 2-lap heat race, Max Nagel, it was who initially led into turn 1, but when he outbraked himself going in to that first turn, he ran wide, allowing Tony Cairoli on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha to sneak up the inside and into the lead. Ken de Dijker and David Philipparts were close behind in second and third. After leading for about 2 laps, Cairoli seemed to allow Ken de Dijker and then Philipparts pass, but after 3 laps of tailing the 2 riders in third, Cairoli regained control and take his first first pole position win of the season. Philipparts was second, de Dijker was third. And a great start from the 222 Ducati Yamaha of Tony Cairoli as he heads down at the inside at turn 1. But has he been out-dragged again? He has. This time it's Max Nagel, who despite being a little bit wide coming out of that turn, has hung on. But then he gets shoved to the outside there from the little Italian Tony Cairoli. So Cairoli leads here in the opening stages of this race. Max Nagel goes over the line in second position, closely followed by the Martin. Oh, and that looked like Gregory Aranda, the rear end of that CLS Kawasaki, coming round on the Frenchman as he stepped off the top of that tabletop at the end of that first lap. They see Jonathan Barragan, number 7 on the Silver Action KTM. He's there in about 4th place. And behind him, we've got one of the Monster Energy Rinaldi Yamahas. There we see, though, the leader, Tony Cairoli on the Ducati Yamaha. He leads from Max Nagel, number 5, in second on the Red Bull KTM. Third, we have the Martin Honda around the outside of Strybos. Then fourth, it looks like the number 25 LS Motors Honda of Clement de Salle. Jonathan Barragan on the Silver Action KTM looks like he's in 5th place. And then it's David Philipparts on that Monster Energy Yamaha in 6th. Josh Coppins, well, he's with his teammate. In fact, Josh Coppins just a couple of places further back as Nagel makes a mistake coming out of that turn, and that allows number 100 of Kevin Strybos up the inside, and Nagel tries to retaliate and sticks himself into an inside rut. But Kevin Strybos it is that's hanging on there in that second position at the moment, pulls a tear off coming out of that whoop section, and he holds on to that second place as they go around that aero turn. Then we've got Nagel 3rd, Philipparts 4th, de Salle 5th, Barragan in 6th place. There's Nagel 3rd. Then we've got, there's Philipparts 4th, de Salle 5th. So Philipparts on the move early on in this race. There's our onboard camera, Loic Leonce on the JK Dacia Aprilia. He's down the order and he's not even in the top 20. So obviously problems for him. And who's that? That's de Salle gone into the fencing. So Clement de Salle, I don't know what happened there, but he's obviously had a bit of a moment there with, well, he was in there with Barragan and Philipparts and Coppins. So Clement de Sal having to do a lot of work now in this race just to get himself back up into contention with the guys that are on screen right now, because that's pretty much where he was. End of the first lap, it's Cairoli leading from Kevin Strybos. There you see the front two. Then Max Nagel in third on that number 5 factory Red Bull KTM. Then it's fourth of David Philipparts on the Monster Energy Yamaha. Fifth, it's the Suzuki of Steve Ramon on that Tekka Suzuki. Then Ken Dudaike, his teammate, in 6th position. Josh Coppins on the second of the Yamahas in 7th. Barragan now in 8th on the Silver Action KTM. 9th is Sebastian Porcel on the official Kawasaki Racing bike. Then Billy McKenzie on the CAS Honda is down in 10th. Gregory Aranda, the guy who had that moment coming over the tabletop on lap 1, he's down in 11th ahead of the Aprilia of Julian Bill. Mark Deruva's Honda in 13th. David Villeman on the Bud Racing Kawasaki in 4th, and Gareth Swanepoel on the second of the factory Kawasaki is down in 15th. Tanel Leok, the guy who won the opening round at Faenza, well, he's down the order in 17th position, teammate to Cairoli on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha. Manuel Preem 18th, the Sal 19th now for the Belgian, and 20 Philips Neuberger of Latvia. Under the Tekka Bridge, over the whoops. Pretty much line astern for everybody on the left-hand side, including Nagel, Philipparts and Ramon. Those three going through now. There you got Ken Dudaike, the big, tall Belgian, on that yellow Suzuki, number 9 on the red plates. He's leading the championship coming into this championship campaign. He's got a point advantage over Josh Coppins on the Yamaha in 2nd position. Tanel Leok just 4 points further adrift in 3rd. Barragan's 4th in the championship, and Max Nagel 5th, just 10 points separating the top 5 in this MX1 campaign in this coming into round 3. Past pit lane, David Philipparts puts the foot down mid-corner, and he's now coming under pressure from Ramon, and Ramon goes through. David Philipparts tries to fight back on that Monster Energy Rinaldi Yamaha. He's chasing down the number 11 Tekka Suzuki of Steve Ramon, the former 2-time world champion. Under the Red Bull Bridge they go. Ken Dudaike, well, he's the second slice of bread in a Yamaha filling, because the Suzuki's either side of number 19, David Philipparts. Cairoli still leads from Kevin Strybos' Honda. 3rd is Max Nagel. They're out of picture. 4th, Ramon. 5th, Philipparts. 6th, number 9 there, Ken Dudaike. Then it's Jonathan Barragan in 7th position on the Silver Action KTM. 8th is Sebastian Porcel. 9th is Billy McKenzie, and Josh Coppins still down there in 10th. We're on lap 3 of the first MX1 race here from the Grand Prix of Turkey at Istanbul. The first time ever a World Motocross Championship event has visited these shores, and at the moment you're looking at the battle on screen between number 11 on that yellow Tekka Suzuki in 4th position of Steve Ramon, and David Philipparts, number 19 on that black Monster Energy Yamaha just behind him in 5th. Ken Dudaike, the second of the Tekka Suzukis, in 6th place, and championship leader. He's trying to hang on to this little duo in front of him. Just ahead of that little shot of riders, number 5 on the Orange Factory Red Bull KTM, Max Nagel. And Nagel yesterday, well, he was running up there, but eventually dropped down to 8th in his heat race. And, well, he came out pretty good in the start in both the qualifying heat and this race here with the whole shot. So Max Nagel doing all he can to minimise the pain, I guess you could say, of that hand that he damaged pre-season. Still suffering with it. And as long as he can get out front, that gives him half a chance of picking up a whole load more points than if he was having to fight his way through the field and claw at 3 or 4. But at the moment, Tony Cairoli, the little toothy Italian, whose Yamaha there is out in front in this one. 2:02 lap time for the Italian that time around. Strybos is still second on the Martin Honda. He's struggling with a slight knee injury that he picked up in Faenza, although there's been no complaints of it this weekend, so you've got to assume that Kevin Strybos, after picking up 5th in his heat race yesterday, is clearly on the mend and almost back to 100%. He's not letting Cairoli get too far away. The gap just under 2 seconds as they came over the line, and that gap's still about the same now as they head over to the furthest point of the circuit. Into this artificial part of the circuit. Well, it's all artificial, but the sand has been brought in specially just to throw a little bit more, well, just a little bit more sort of technical value, I guess, to the circuit. Quite a few braking bumps there and quite deep ruts coming out some of those turns, but not really affecting the riders, although towards the end of the race you've got to argue that that's where positions are gained and lost. Under the Tecker Bridge, on the 4th lap, Tony Cairoli on that blue Yamaha leads the red Honda number 100 of Kevin Strybos. The orange KTM number 5, Max Nagel, going through now. The Suzuki number 11 of Steve Ramon, the black Yamaha of David Philipparts, and the yellow Suzuki of number 9, Ken Didike. Jonathan Barragan, Silver Action KTM, just in front of the green Kawasaki there of Sebastian Pourcel there in 7th and 8th place. And Billy McKenzie on the CAS Honda, he's down in 9th. Still a bit walking wounded is Billy McKenzie after that big crash at the 2nd round of the British Championship down at Langrish a few weeks ago, where he damaged a rib, and he was feeling a bit uncomfortable last weekend in Bulgaria. And he also sort of rammed himself against the tank as well and had a bit of a eye-watering moment, shall we say, and it's been making it very, very difficult for the young Scot to get comfortable in some corners. But putting that all behind him, the pain and not the tackle, as we look at number 90, Sebastian Pourcel, trying to close down on the number 7 of Jonathan Barragan. Barragan was looking a little bit lackluster yesterday, it has to be said, compared to the dominance that he showed in race 2 in Bulgaria in the 2nd race to clinch 2nd overall that weekend, just 1 week ago. But Barragan, well, he only qualified yesterday in 11th place. He wasn't looking that comfortable out there, and you've got to say at the moment, with lap times of 2:03, he's 2nd off the pace of the leaders, and just sitting there at the moment being harassed by number 90, Sebastian Pourcel, a rider who's carrying an injury, a shoulder injury he picked up whilst racing in Guadeloupe just before the end of last year. Coppins is still down in 10th place. Gregory Aranda 11th on the CLS Kawasaki. 12th is Clement de Sal. So de Sal on the move after finding himself down in 19th at the end of lap 1. Mark Deruva 13th. David Filliman 14th. Julian Bills Aprilia is 15th. Gareth Swanepoel 16th. Tanel Liot, Carlos Campano, Phillips Newberger and Manuel Preem are rounding out the top 20. Max Nagel coming under increased pressure now from the number 11 of Steve Ramon. So Ramon in a hurry now to get things done here. But you can see, if you get offline, as David Philipparts did just then, you have to go the long way round. So ideally you could say that Philipparts wanted to cut back across that berm, but that was just a little bit too high after the circuit being watered last night and the early hours of this morning. Max Nagel getting a bit of a bobble going into that turn. That right-hander allows Steve Ramon to close right up on the back of the gritty German number 5, Max Nagel. Tries to double his way through, but he's got the inside line there. Ramon's going to try and come around the outside, then squares it off. And can he square him back off coming out of this next right-hander to cross the line? Well, he's got the right line now, gets the power down on that Suzuki and clicks his way into the front of Max Nagel and takes over 3rd position. So Nagel drops to 4th. Philipparts is now hanging on in there 5th, thinking that he can make a move on Nagel, certainly in the next couple of laps. And Strybos, that gap between himself and 2nd on the Martin Honda, riding number 100, and that man there, Steve Ramon, in 3rd, is about 4 seconds. So Steve Ramon got a bit of work to do. 2:04 lap time for Tony Cairoli that time, 2:03, and the gap down to 1.3. 2:03 for Kevin Strybos, Steve Ramon 2:03, and that was passing Max Nagel. So you feel that Steve Ramon has a little bit more in the tank and could possibly close down that 4-second advantage between himself and Kevin Strybos in 2nd. David Philipparts looking menacing as he's trying to carve his way around some of these deep ruts and sandy berms, trying to find a way past Nagel. Nagel goes to the outside, looks over, but Philipparts, you could see that coming from the corner before. He was already on the gas and charging, and Philipparts now moves up into 4th place, but goes around the outside and has to jump alongside. So who's it going to be that comes out here first? It looks like Philipparts might just have the advantage, and he does. that rhythm section. If you get over the first one nice and neatly, that means you can come out a lot lower and a lot quicker on that right-hand side, left-hand side as we look at it. But if you go inside, then you have to get over a smaller one first before you can start doubling your way. And obviously that cost Max Nagel as he tried to find a way back past the number 19 on the black Monster Energy Yamaha of David Philipparts. KTM crew, look on. 204s, they're telling him. Well, they're right at that, 204.8. Here we see a replay of it. Nagel, he jumps high and long. Gets a bit of a bounce there as well. The suspension not quite bottoming out, but he just hit a bit of a hole there, bounced out, lost a bit of drive, and that allowed David Philipparts just to carve his way up the inside. David Philipparts, the defending champion, having won the title in Italy on home soil in September last year. He now sets his sights on the number 11 of Steve Bramon. Cairoli still leads, Strybos second, Steve Bramon third, Philipparts fourth, Max Nagel fifth, and Carl Tano Liot going down. And Liot was down in 16th position. Well, we can just count a handful of riders going through there, so you've got to suggest now that he's well and truly outside the points. Can't quite see where that is. Gregory Aranda, he's in for some running repairs. Aranda, well, he was down in 6th. Well, he was a little bit higher than that. He's dropping down the order, so he's almost out the points, and well, he's out of the points as we speak right now. James Noble in 19th, and Igor Liot down in 20th place. But Tony Cairoli on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha, he's closely being watched there by the number 100 Martin Honda rider of Kevin Strybos, and Strybos is not letting him get away. A couple of weeks ago we were talking about Strybos and how he's had a lack of racing. He pretty much missed the whole of the season in 2008 due to injuries and team disputes, as Cairoli just up on the pegs around those deep ruts, so not to drag those foot pegs or twist a knee. And obviously this guy coming back for an injury as well that ended his MX2 campaign in 2008. But Kevin Strybos, well, missed quite a lot of action. He tweaked a knee at Faenza, and already the rumours were out that Kevin Strybos isn't happy, and he, you know, he's just there for whatever reason. But at the moment, you've got to say that in second position and closing down on Tony Cairoli, he means business here at the Grand Prix of Turkey. We're off for a break. We'll be back here with the action in a moment.
Hi, I'm Josh Coppins. You can see me all this year on Motors TV riding the MX1 World Championship.
England's Max Chilton and Nick Tandy are just two of the homegrown drivers that will battle a strong international field in arguably the most competitive Formula 3 championship in Europe. Be sure not to miss a second of the action from round one from Oulton Park this Saturday, April 18th from 7:20. Join Motors TV this Saturday, April 18th from 8:10 for the season opening round of the French Super Series with a full report from the GT Series where Olivier Panis and Sébastien Loeb will be in action, as well as the news from the numerous support series. The 2008 ARCA season wrapped up at Toledo, and heading into the final race of the year, it was a three-driver battle for the title. Join Motors TV this Saturday, April 18th at 9 p.m. to see who won the 2008 ARCA crown.
Welcome back to MX1 Race 1, the Grand Prix of Turkey. We're at Istanbul, and Tony Cairoli on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha, number 222 on that blue machine.
It's the first time the FIM Motocross World Championship is here in Turkey, your home country. How does that feel for a Supercross Championship?
I'm really happy to see the race in Turkey because also I'm watching first time the motocross race, and I'm very happy to see in my country.
Well, Kenan Sofwoglu, the rider from Turkey who won the 2007 World Supersport Championship on the hands-free Honda, obviously a massive fan of motorsport, and motor racing in general. And I actually wondered whether he'd be here or not, and there you go, right on cue. Lisa popping in the question during this MX1 race, and good to see him here as well. Obviously the Superbike round not competing this weekend, but Tony Cairoli still leads here, just under 18 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Cairoli, the 23-year-old Sicilian, former two-time Grand Prix World Championship winner, shall we say. Both of those Grand Prix victories and World Championship titles coming in MX2, 2005 and 2007. His campaign looked like it was going to be 3 championships last year in 2008 when he was battling with Tyler Rattray and Tommy Searle, but a knee injury picked up in the Grand Prix of South Africa at Nelspruit certainly ended the Italian season in 2008. But here he is in the MX1 class, and he's looking like he's making a break now and putting a gap between himself and Strybos there in second. And you can see lurking in the distance the number 11 on the Tekka Suzuki of Steve Ramon, himself a two-time winner as well. He also winning his last World Championship in 2007, the same year as Cairoli won his MX2 last World Championship. Well, he's trying to home in on that man there, number 100, Kevin Strybos. As you said, Kevin Strybos just suffering in the last couple of years with injuries, although in 2007, despite picking up a knee injury, still managed to finish second in the World Championship. And who knows, had he not been injured, possibly would have won that championship in the Coppins demise when he picked up an injury as well. So there is number 7, Jonathan Barragan. He's currently down in 7th place at the moment, trying to close down Max Nagel. Max Nagel just disappearing over that Hyundai bridge, just out of shot there. You see him just disappearing, number 5 on the orange KTM. The rider behind him looks like Sebastian Forsell, still there in 8th position on that factory Kawasaki as they complete another lap here. 9 laps completed in this first race. 35 minutes plus 2 laps, and for those of you who are unfamiliar, we have 2 races. It's 25 points for a win, 22 for second, 20 for third, 18, 16, then 15, all the way down to 20th place, and a single point. At the end of 2 races, the highest amount of points wins the Grand Prix. And the winner of the Grand Prix last weekend was Josh Coppins with 2 second places. Jonathan Barragan won one of those races, and that's the man on screen at the moment, but he just lost out by a single point to the Yamaha of Coppins and had to settle for second overall. Jonathan Barragan at the moment, coming into round 3, finds himself in 4th place in the championship on 54 points, one behind Snell Leok, who we know is out of the points at the moment after making a mistake early on. Coppins is down in second on 59, so we think, well, we know that Barragan will leapfrog him into second position, and Kenda Dyker is the leader on 60 points. He will still lead the championship, but he will have somebody else behind him, and that would be the number 7 of Barragan. Philippart's down on 48 points at the moment, so it's going to be tight going into the second race if it was to stay like this, but 14.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. And Max Nagel flying high, just trying to get as many points under his belt as he can. I know he's got a race in Germany next weekend that he's keen on riding, but talking to 1 or 2 of the Kawasaki personnel, you would kind of assume that they wouldn't let him ride that weekend, although Max would love to ride there. So it's obviously a circuit that he likes, or an event that he likes, but the common sense money would be to say, Max, no, park it in the garage for a week, let your hand heal, because you've got another run, a Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time in Valkenswaard, and you've got 2 more on the bounce, Portugal and Spain, just 2 weeks after that. So it's going to be quite a hectic time for Max, and he really does need to rest that hand and get it healed, and get it healed properly. Otherwise, he's just going to find himself getting good starts and riding round in 5th and 6th, which is going to be consistent, but it's not necessarily going to win him the championship. There's Josh Coppins on the Monster Energy Rinaldi Yamaha, finding his way round through some of these deep ruts now over that first wave section into a tight left-hander. He'll drop down, then go right. The 25-meter tabletop is ahead of him, and he's trying to close down on Clement de Salle, but de Salle picking himself up off the deck at the end of lap 1 on the LS Motors Honda, and already found his way past the Kiwi, Josh Coppins, 32 years old, the New Zealander, and possibly looking at his final year in Grand Prix motocross, although not had anything confirmed or denied, but with the title of the DVD that will be out soon, one more year, you would expect that that's exactly what he's got planned, just one more year in Europe. Under the Red Bull bridge he goes, into left-hander, over the Tekka whoops, making his way to the second half of the lap. You can see the weather starting to brighten up here. It's been quite cloudy, quite overcast, but it's very, very windy indeed, and bitterly cold is that wind blowing in across the sea there. But the circuit, without the sunshine that we had yesterday, staying nice and grippy and tacky. We've got no ounce of dust anywhere, as Clement de Sal on the LS Motors Honda in 9th is all over the back of the number 90 of Sebastian Pourcel on that factory Kawasaki as they head past pit lane. Pourcel goes to the outside, de Sal up the inside. Takes the shorter route, but it's a deeper rut, but then he misses the hole going over that next left-hander. Gets on the gas on the Honda number 25 machine. Actually looks quite a lot better on the Honda than he did on the Suzuki. On the Suzuki last year he looked like he was being taken for a ride, and just his frame, his style of riding didn't quite suit that bike, and it looks like Clement de Sal looking much more comfortable on this new fuel-injected EFI Honda right from the off. LS Motors Honda's race team being managed by Marnik Bevorts, a former 4- or 5-time runner-up in the 250cc World Championship back in the 90s. So a lot of experience under that awning from Marnik Bevorts. Cairoli, well, there you see, 26 seconds up the track from this battle here for 8th position of Pourcel and de Sal. And there's the gap between Cairoli and Strybos, as Strybos now coming under pressure from the number 11 Tekka Suzuki of Steve Ramont. So with just over 10.5 minutes to go plus 2 laps, the number 100 Martin Honda of Kevin Strybos has his fellow Belgian behind him, number 11 on the Tekka Suzuki, who pulls a tear off over that tabletop just to get himself a bit more vision coming out of this right-hander, and he gets the power down on that Suzuki. And we've not seen Steve Ramont ride like this in a very, very long time indeed. And suddenly Steve Ramont is showing that this early in the season he means business. There's Rob van Veveken on the Beers Yamaha, Van Beers Yamaha Racing number 56. So Veveken, I don't know where, he's outside the top 20 as he came in. So obviously struggling there as we look back at the battle here between Ramon and Strybos, and you can already see that the Belgian of the number 11 Suzuki, Steve Ramont, is keen to pull away from the Honda rider and try and close down the gap, which is 6.8 seconds between himself and Tony Cairoli on the Red Bull Ducati Yamaha. Philip Arts on the Monster Energy Yamaha is in 4th place, and he's about 5 seconds off the back of that man there, Kevin Strybos. Is Strybos starting to fade? 2:06 lap times of Kevin Strybos, and the 2:02 of Cairoli, 2:03 of Ramont suggests that Strybos is tiring. 2:04 of Philip Arts, so 2 seconds a lap, 1.5 seconds or thereabouts. So it's only a matter of time before the black Yamaha of David Philip Arts, coming into that right-hander prior to this left, is going to be closing down that gap on Kevin Strybos. Clement de Sal 8th, Pourcel 9th, Coppins 10th, Villeman 11th, Billy McKenzie 12th, Gareth Swanepoel 13th, De Ruva 14th, Manuel Preem is 15th, and Julian Bill 16th ahead of Campano, Iger Leok, Neuberger, and Jason Dugan on the Phoenix Tools CCM is down there in 20th place. Tony Cairoli now has the whole of that whoop section for the lead, and he's I was walking around the track yesterday during his pre-qualifying practice, and anywhere this guy went on the circuit he was cheered and whistled, and the guys just love him here. The Turkish crowd love Tony Cairoli here. He is their number 1 hero, and if he was to win this moto it would be a very, very popular moto indeed. A lot of people view him as the Valentino Rossi of the motocross world, and certainly he's very charismatic, very good with the fans and the press, and he's got an aggressive riding style that backs it all up as well, and 2 World Championships already in the bag in MX2. Just a question of when, not if, when the Italian picks up his first MX1 title. in the championship chase at the moment. He's down in 7th place on 48 points. So, as I said earlier, it's going to be very, very tight at the top after this race. Josh Coppins now closing down on the fading number 90 of Sebastian Pourcel on the factory Kawasaki. Pourcel in 9th, Coppins in 10th. And you see Coppins lining him up, goes to the inside, and Pourcel really not offering anything back there. It's just, heavy landing there from Josh Coppins, landed a bit deep and almost over the front of the bike. And that almost let Pourcel, but you can see Pourcel just looking over his shoulder and nursing that left shoulder through those whoops. And the guy must be in absolute agony, but just trying to pick up as many points as possible as he can. The number 90 of Pourcel down in 17th in the championship at the moment. 15 points he picked up in Bulgaria last week. But positions down the lower order, not what we come to expect. But you can't help riding with an injury. And some will say, well, he should be at home protecting that injury and come back when he's 100% fit. But he's got a weekend off after this race before they go to Holland for the Grand Prix there at Valkenswaard. And in that next 2 weeks, you can bet that he's not going to be on the bike.
Sebastian Pourcel, has he got the strength to fight back?
I hope so. As I mentioned last week, he's still in a period of injury, and he's catching up every time. Every week is going better and better, and the plan is that we stay in the first 10 today. So I hope that he can fight back and stay in his position at least at the 10th place.
Well, Martin van Genderen, the team manager of the Kawasaki racing team, just saying that 10th is where he wants to be, but David Willeman was about 10 or 11 seconds behind at the start of that lap, and lapping 3 seconds a lap quicker. And you can, well, you can see Pourcel not riding aggressively at all, but just trying to pick up as many points as possible. Gert Kresenov is in on the Silver Action KTM. So the Estonian looking like he's cooked a rear brake there, probably just dragging that rear brake just a little bit too much, going nowhere in a hurry. So Kresenov having to sit out the remainder of this moto as his teammate Jonathan Barragan on the Silver Action KTM sits there in 7th position as we look at a slow-mo of Sebastian Pourcel. And when you look at the slow-mo there of Sebastian Pourcel, the bumps over in that far side of the circuit in that newly added sand area, you see just how physically demanding it is to ride an MX2 or an MX1 machine in conditions like that. When you've got the intense pain of that shoulder injury that he still has, then it's no surprising that in the closing stages of this race, he's starting to fall back. Oof, and Gareth Swanepoel, his teammate, just getting it slightly wrong there, coming through at the end of that into turn 2. And Billy McKenzie, well, is he going backwards or is he going forwards? Well, he's down in 13th, 12th. So Billy McKenzie down in 13th, so Swanee on the move and already passed Billy McKenzie. So let's run down again then. As the sun comes out here in Turkey and the circuit lined with quite a few spectators. Oh, and Pourcel goes off. So Pourcel coming out of the right-hand, possibly just before the rolling whoops out of City Curve. And you can see, well, 10th position would have been great. He had a couple of seconds advantage. Well, it was definitely past the finish line tabletop, as Ken de Dijker, we're looking at now, is in 5th position. He's got Max Nagel behind him in 6th. But Pourcel, rotten luck for him, riding with a shoulder injury, wanting to try and pick up as many points as possible, gets going again. Right, be interesting to see where that is. Coming out of those uphill whoops, that's where Nicholas Oban, oh, and he's just having to lift a little bit of cable there, or somebody's headsets, one of the marshal's headsets. So he's obviously got squirrely coming out of that whoop section, and he's just livid with himself there underneath that helmet. He just kind of clenched his fist almost as he pulled away, knowing that 10th place and 11th points would have been possibly on the cards, and that would go nicely towards his tally. But rotten luck there for the Frenchman. Steve Ramon, though, he's still there in seconds. 10 seconds, he's in 2nd position. 10 seconds a gap between himself and Kai Rowley. 2:04 lap times, though, for the pair of them. Oh, and it looks like Pourcel may have got into the crowd there, judging by that. Hopefully everybody is all right. But Steve Ramon over the tabletop. Furthest point of the circuit in that sandy corner. getting the power down. You can see not overly deep, but the bumps at the end of that straight and this one here, very, very choppy indeed. And the riders just have to be very, very vigilant and pay attention at all costs. Strybos still sitting there in third position, so Steve Ramon hasn't really put the distance between himself and Strybos that he had hoped. And there you see the gap. There's the Suzuki, number 11 of Strybos. And there is the Honda. He just takes a quick look back, does Ramon, to see exactly where Kevin Strybos is in third. David Philippart's on the Monster Energy Yamaha fourth. Kenda Dyker fifth. Max Nagel's Red Bull KTM in sixth. The Silver Action KTM of Barragan is in seventh position. Clement de Sal's LS Motors Honda is eighth. Ninth is Josh Coppins on the Monster Energy Yamaha, and 10th is the Bud Kawasaki of David Willemans. Swanepoel's factory Kawasaki is 11th. Billy Mackenzie's CAS Honda is 12th, ahead of the Aprilia of Manuel Priem. Deruba's Honda 14th. Julian Bill, Igor Leoc, Carlos Campano. Dugan now up to 19th place, and Tano Leoc back in the points, so he was 27th when he got going after the mishap early on in the race. But Tano Leoc on the number 8, the Carli Yamaha, he's now up into 20th position, but that's little consolation because just 2 weekends ago he was leading the World Championship courtesy of that victory in race 1, the only race that they had at Faenza. Oh, you can see Strybos doing exactly what Gareth Swanepoel did just a couple of laps ago, so there's obviously a horrible little hole there just in the bottom of that last whoop. And just catching one or two of the riders out. Tony Cairoli, looking at the moment with just under 1.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go, looking at picking up his first race win of the season. He was saying in interviews prior to this that he was hoping to peak around mid-season, around sort of May, June time, and if he was there or thereabouts in contention, then obviously make a serious push in the second half of that year. But at the moment, you've got to say, this circuit here really suiting the guy down to the ground. In fact, Adam Wheeler, one of the journalists here, he asked the question in the press conference yesterday that the circuit here, built by the same guy who built Donington Park, that's just in Berkeley, and in 2007, that was when Cairoli had his first MX1 Grand Prix race, and he actually came away from there with the victory. So he said he obviously liked this kind of circuit, and obviously likes the way that Justin Barkley designs these tracks. And well, Cairoli just had to say yeah, basically. He's obviously felt very at home here from the very first lap, and you can see from his qualifying race he was quicker than anybody else. He won the heat, and he was fast in all of the pre-qualifying as well. 156 lap times he was turning in, but so too was Tano Leoc and Kenda Dyker. But it's this man here who's got himself right in front, right from the very, very first lap, and is looking at taking victory here. Time is up here, but we're going to take the 2-lap board out of this left and then right-hander. So Tony Cairoli will take the 2-lap board any moment now, and looking at picking up 25 points here, as long as he keeps it on 2 wheels. Styling it for the crowd. The crowd there, you can hear them whistling in the background and just cheering this guy on. They love what they see here, and you've got to say that the Turkish crowd that have turned out this weekend will not be disappointed. Even if this is the only victory for the Italian, potentially, they would have appreciated his efforts. A little bit of a bobble there as he came out of that turn on the back end, just kicking sideways left and right as it found its, looking to find its traction coming out of that turn. But already you can see how big that gap is. There's the Suzuki of Steve Ramon heading over that tabletop into that right-hander, the number 11 Tekka Suzuki rider from Belgium. And Kevin Strybos is hanging on in there in third. David Philippart's Monster Energy Yamaha is 4th place. Kenda Dyker's Tekka Suzuki is 5th, ahead of the Red Bull KTM of Max Nagel in 6th. And Kevin Strybos not giving up here. 2:04 lap times last time around for him and Ramon, compared to the 2:05 of Tony Cairoli. But Cairoli does have 9.5 seconds in hand as he comes under the Tekka bridge and over that rhythm section with 1.5 laps to go, and he's already looking at cruising here. He's got one eye on the circuit, one eye on the pit board, and he knows exactly where Steve Ramon is in the closing stages of this race. Mackenzie still down in 12th. Jason Dugan on the Phoenix Tool CCM still down there in 19th position. as we take a look further down the order to see where Pourcel is. And Pourcel, well, it looks like he's come in. So Pourcel, after that moment over the first of the uphill whoops, Pourcel will DNF this race. Gregory Aranda also out of the points. James Noble on the Motorvision Suzuki, he's down in 23rd at the moment as we look at the number 100 Martin Honda of Kevin Strybos. And he chases down the number 11 of Steve Ramon. Kevin Strybos, a 23-year-old Belgian from Gilles, born and raised there, still lives there. And Lorenzo Resta, the team manager of the Martin Honda team, will be, I think, quietly confident and quite pleased with himself here and the work of his rider Kevin Strybos in this one. His teammate Mark Deruva down in 14th at the moment. Mark Deruva saying on the pre-grid that the circuit, well, he overtook 4 riders yesterday, so it is possible to overtake. But obviously not happening for him at the moment in this race. Billy McKenzie down in 12th, still trying to find a way past Gareth Swanepoel on the Kawasaki. David Villeman up into 10th position, DeSalle still 9th, Josh Coppins now 8th, Barragan 7th, Max Nagel 6th. We're on the final lap here, and just with less than half a lap to go, Tony Cairoli looking at picking up 25 points for that Red Bull Ducati Yamaha and move himself a little bit higher up in the championship. Currently sitting in 7th at the moment. Of course, we'll give you the rundown of where he is right after this race when all the riders come through, but just a couple of corners to go over this tabletop here, into the right-hander, and then flick it left. Past pit straight, he'll acknowledge the team possibly, because this will be the first team race win of the year for the Ducati Yamaha outfit. Steve Ramon just a little bit further back in 2nd on the Tekka Suzuki. 3rd is the Martin Honda of Kevin Strybos. 4th, the Monster Energy Yamaha of David Philipparts. 5th, the Tekka Suzuki of Ken Dodika, as Cairoli wheelies his way through the whoops into the penultimate turn, punching the air with delight already, out of the final turn, over the little rise, and then it'll be a big whip for Tony Cairoli as he takes the checkered flag and a knack-knack over the finish line, and he punches the air, and you see the crowd there to the left on the banking in the grandstands loving every minute of it, and he's finally, that pressure, the weight has been lifted off of the Italian shoulders. He knows now that he can go on and claim more race victories in this 2009 MX1 World Championship campaign. Ramon comes over the line in 2nd, almost 8 seconds adrift. 3rd was Kevin Strybos, 4th David Philipparts, 5th Ken Dodika, that man there. Will he still lead the championship? If so, by how much? Max Nagel, he came over the line there, number 5, in 6th place, ahead of Jonathan Barragan in 7th and Josh Coppins in 8th. Clement DeSalle on the Honda was 9th, and last time around, David Villeman was 10th, and we're just waiting for him to come over the line now. Any moment now, but he's quite a way back of DeSalle in that 10th position. That's assuming, of course, he is still there. But this looks like it might be David Villeman. Yeah, there we go, number 12, DB12. Villeman crosses the line in 10th position. Gareth Swanepoel then was next in 11th on that Kawasaki, 12th Billy McKenzie, and 13th Manuel Preem, number 32 on the Aprilia. Kevin Strybos comes in to the podium area. And Frank Schroyen already taken care of the number 11 of Steve Ramon. But it was a win here for Tony Cairoli. Ramon 2nd, Strybos 3rd, Philipparts 4th, and Ken Dodika was 5th in race 1. Tony Cairoli just never headed in this race. Gets a kiss from his girlfriend, and the team just loving every moment of this at the moment. We know it's early days. There is a 2nd race to be had here a little later on this afternoon in a couple hours time or thereabouts. And well, Tony Cairoli, you've got to say he's starting to mean business. Here we see the knack-knack all over again. Takes a big look back at the Red Bull Bridge and the man with the check and flag and the 222. picks up 25 points. The first time ever the Grand Prix has visited Turkey. He's been fast all weekend. He's pre-qualifying yesterday. Now here we see Sebastian Pourcel. Is this just a slow-mo before he went off? Yes, I think it is. We're just going to get the official confirmation of the results. So Tony Cairoli wins on the Yamaha from Steve Ramon, the Belgian, in second, ahead of Strybos, David Philipparts, Ken Dedijker, Max Nagel, Barragan and Josh Coppins. DeSalle 9th, David Willeman 10th, Gareth Swanepoel 11th, Billy McKenzie 12th, Manuel Preem, Mark Deruva, Julian Bill, your top 15. Igor Leok 16th, Philips Neuberger, Carlos Campano, Tanel Leok 19th, and Jason Dugan on the Phoenix Tools CCM picking up a final World Championship point. We're off for a commercial break here. We'll be back in a couple of moments with the interviews. Don't go away.